Hello guys, welcome to Spice Up Your Biology. Let's begin with one more topic today, that is structure of the DNA, which is again a very crucial topic for your upcoming examinations, and it could be used at various places which can enhance your understanding about the DNA. What really we are going to talk about in DNA is that the structure. Will not discuss topology today. Rather, what are the bonds which are stabilizing it, and what are the bases involved, and how exactly they're oriented. So let's first see the structure of the DNA. So basically, a basic idea about the DNA: it is a polymer, it is a polynucleotide. Monomer is a nucleotide. In DNA, the sugar is going to be deoxyribose. That means at the carbon number 2 OH group is not there. Rather, oxygen is going to be removed and only the hydrogen is going to be there. And it's a double stranded structure. And the nucleotide will have the phosphodiester bond, which is the when it is formed, it is a kind of a esterification reaction where the carbon number 3 is going to be attached with the the ribose is going to be attached with the 5 carbon. The 5 carbon is going to have the phosphate group which is attached to the OH group, and this 3' OH group will be free, and this 3' OH group is going to be connected with the phosphate group of the carbon number 5. This is how the structure is created. And the mainly the helical structure is because of the sugar. There's a conformation change in the sugar, we call it sugar puckering. We'll discuss in a while. And basically, if you see that this is structure, the backbone is made up of sugar and phosphate, and whereas the bases are going to be oriented inside, and it follows, and one base is going to be one above other, that's called stacking, and they're going to be arranged in the anti-parallel fashion, and it follows the Chargaff rule where the adenine is going to be equal to the thymine and the guanine is going to be equal to the cytosine. So there'll be complementary base pairing, and the bases they can exist in the two isomers, lactam lactam, or we call it ketoenol, and the one which is more common is the keto form. And this structure I'll show you here. If you see it clearly, this is the lactam form. We can see the thymine is present over there. This is the keto form. Once this hydrogen is going to be rather proton is going to be there in this oxygen, and this form the OH group is going to be lactam form, or it is going to be enol form. So this form, the first one, it predominates in the structure. This is the structure shown over here, DNA and RNA, and you can see the anti-parallel structure which is present over here, and you can see the one side is going to be 5 to 3 and another is going to be 3 to 5, and perfect complementarity is going to be there. Adenine is always going to have the hydrogen bond with the thymine, and guanine is always going to have the hydrogen bond with the cytosine. You can see in this there'll be 3 hydrogen bonds formed in the between the G and C, which makes it a little more stable, and A and T will have the 2 hydrogen bond. And base pairing is basically formed. If you look at over here, the adenine is going to be the hydrogen provider over here, and the oxygen is present on the thymine, whereas nitrogen is on this side and hydrogen is provided by the thymine. This is how it is going to be. So one hydrogen of the proton provided by the adenine, another is from the thymine. Similarly, if you look at this regime in the guanine and the cytosine, oxygen is over here, the hydrogen provider is the thymine, cytosine, and here the another hydrogen is coming. The 2 hydrogens are going to be given by the guanine to form the hydrogen bond, and acceptor is going to be cytosine. This is like, these bases should come close enough to form those hydrogen bond. So this base pairing is going to be decided by the hydrogen bonding. I just told you, like, they should need to come close enough to form those, and the diameter is going to be same. Now, the typical binding that is seen when the double helical model was proposed, and the Watson and Crick, along with the Wilkins, they got Nobel Prize. Before that, the structure of the DNA by the Watson and Crick, and along with the Franklin, it was published, and they've gone into the pretty much detail. So pairing between the adenine and the thymine, guanine and the cytosine is very, very important. Why? Because this is the specific pairing, because we also call it as a Watson and Crick pairing. Whereas if it is not the case, it is going to be called as Augustine symmetry or the Augustine geometry. This geometry is, usually found in the case of telomere, where the N7 is going to be acceptor, and normally it is not seen into the DNA structure. So more common and the thermodynamically stable structure is the Watson and Crick pairing, because a WC pairing as well. That is going to be more stable. So again, there's a one thing that we need to figure it out. Augustine symmetry is going to be more stable in the case of AT pair, whereas the Watson and Crick uh, binding is more stable in the case of other double helix. Okay. Now, whenever we crystallize this structure, we'll find more of the guanine and cytosine pairing in the Watson and Crick, which is very, very common. And those bases can exist in the two different conformation. One we called is syn, where you can see the bulky group towards the same side. We know the purine, they're having the two rings, and you can see these bulky two groups are, on the same side. Whereas the NT is one where the bulky group, you can see they are separated apart, they're the far. So definitely the NT structure is one which is going to predominate. Whereas you can see in the case of cytidine, NT structure, you can see the bulky group, the carbonyl group that you see over here, it is not projected on this side. So there are the certain forces which is going to stabilize. The main important force, if you look at, is going to be stacking interactions or hydrophobic interaction, how the bases are situated one over the other. Then we have the hydrogen bond, and there'll be few electrostatic forces because of the phosphate groups. They didn't always have the negative charge over it. Let's talk about the structure of the bDNA, which is the natural DNA that we see in our biological system. And roughly the diameter is going to be in the range of 2 nanometer or 20 angstrom. This is the right-handed structure. And sugar is a specific conformation because of 2' endo. How you know the 2' endo? If you look at the carbon number 5 over here, this 5 and 2, if they're in the same plane, this condition we call it as a endo. You can see that this 2OH group is somewhere 7 angstrom apart, and the base is normally in the anti-conformation, so that the steric hindrance can be prevented. And the bases, they have a helical twist of around 36 degree. That means it is going to have a turn roughly around having the 10.4 or 10.5 bases, and helical pitch is going to be 34 angstrom. And here one more thing that you can see in this structure is that major group and the minor group. The one which is shown in the orange is the major group, and one which is shown in the yellow is the minor. So major group is going to be wide and deep, whereas the minor group is going to be narrow and deep as well. And every base will have a distance of 3.4 angstrom. Roughly 10 bases will have 34 angstrom. That helps in the calculation of the length of the DNA. One more thing, that helical twist you can see over here, this angle is the propeller twist, which could vary from 10 to 20, whereas a helical twist which could be in the Watson Crick structure around 28 to 42 degree. Now let's have a look on the major and the minor group. Mind you, this is a very, very important structure where the different protein which interact with the DNA will come and sit over here, especially the transcription factor. So this is a sitting place for those DNA protein interactions. Now, if you see this structure of the major and the minor group, this one, the C1 and C1, you can see over here, and this is the major group. So major group is going to be more broader and deeper, whereas the minor group is going to be less deeper, less narrower. I mean, it is a narrow and the deep. So how exactly it is going to be formed? Hypothetical situation is that the group would have similar size because the deoxyribose residues were attached at the 180 degree centigrade. You can see over here. But what happened is that this is not the real case because of the helical structure of the puckering of the sugar. Now the B type of structure is not possible with the RNA because this oxygen has not been removed in the RNA where we have the ribose sugar. So this is whenever it is going to be there, you can see that this red color structure, it is always going to create this steric classes. Hence, B type duplex is not really going to occur in the case of RNA. Now, another form of the DNA, that is the DNA A, which is again a right-handed. Here, the important thing, all this conformation occurs because of the salt concentration and the kind of sugar puckering that they have. Here is going to be 3' endo. That means the carbon number 3 in the ribose is going to be in the same plane with the carbon number 5. And this is again the right-handed one. And the diameter is somewhere around 25.5 angstrom, and there'll be per turn, per helix turn, there'll be 11 bases, and helical pitch is going to be 25.3. Bases are always in the anti-conformation. And every base rise around 2.3 angstrom, and the plane of the base is going to be, little tilted on the 20 degree related to the helical axis. And this is what I was talking about, the sugar puckerings. You can see over here the 5 and 2, if they are in the same plane or above the plane, you can see over here, this is going to be the 2' endo compared to the 3, which is little outside, is going to be exo. So it is, if it is endo, it's going to be exo. And you can see over here, if the 3, carbon number 3, you can see this one, if it is going to be up, with the 5' end, is going to be 3' end. So the 2' endo condition you're going to see in the BDNA, and the 3' endo condition you're going to see in the aDNA. And sugar puckering is the main region behind the helical structure of the DNA. So BDNA has the C2 endo form, and aDNA is the C3 endo. Just now I showed you. Whereas in the ZDNA, all the purine, they are going to be in the syn form, and they have the C3 endo, whereas all the pyrimidine are going to be in the anti form, and then the C2 endo. You can easily make out that the purine and pyrimidine, they will have the different kind of puckering in the ribose, deoxyribose rather. So what is the conclusion we can draw out of it is that the ribose puckering governs the relative orientation of the phosphate group to the each sugar residues. This is the BDNA, and this is the aDNA. aDNA has the shallow minor group because of its arrangement, and the deep major group, unlike the BDNA. Now the third one, ZDNA, basically this structure is about the polynucleotide altering purine and pyrimidine GC, you can see over here. And when we are having the high salt concentration, Z word stand for the zigzag structure. This zigzag structure is basically the left-handed helix. As I told you just now in the previous slide, the sugar is in the 2' endo, and with the pyrimidine and 3' endo with the purines, this creates a backbone of the zigzag-like structure, and base alternate between the anti that you are going to see in the case of pyrimidine and the syn you are going to see in the case of purine. Every helix, per turn helix, we are going to have the 12 bases, and the helical pitch is going to be 25.6 angstrom. Here the major group is going to be flat, and narrow and deep minor group. This is the important characteristic, and per base rise is going to be around 3.8, and the tilting is around 9 degree. And keep in the mind, this structure is going to be left-handed. And this just now I told you, if you are having the 5' to 3', that means it is again the antiparallel structure. Sugar is going to be 2' endo, base is going to be anti in the case of cytosine. In the case of guanine, sugar is going to be 3 endo and base is going to be same. This is shown in this diagram. And this is a basic comparison that just now I explained you. Now, the biological relevance of the minor group types of the DNA in the secondary structure, I told in the before, they're very, very important. Although the majority of the chromosomal DNA is in the B form, and some region may assume A or may Z-like structure. Maybe they cannot be continuously in the B form structure. So they may assume A and Z conformation in between. So when they are running of the many G's, so it can be A-like structure. If it is having alternating G and C, this is going to be the structure of the Z. If you look at the upstream sequence of some of the genes, we know they contain the methylated form in the especially the GC boxes. So we have the DCM methylase, which is going to transfer the methyl group onto the cytosine. You can see over here the 5-methyl cytosine. More than often, it is going to have the Z-like duplex. So these structural variations, they're going to play a very important role, the way they interact with the different proteins. And the RNA DNA hybrid, as the double-stranded RNA, have basically the A type. It will not be possible because of the OH group, and that cause the steric classes. So to avoid that, it is going to be in the A conformation. And the hydrogen bond donor, we know in the periodic table only the 3 elements which can form the hydrogen bond: nitrogen, oxygen, and the fluorine. Fluorine is usually not found in the biological system too much. So this is the nitrogen and the hydrogen that are going to play important role. Just now I explained you before. So the age of the base pair displayed the DNA major and the minor group. They contain the potential hydrogen bond donor and the acceptor. Look at over here, hydrogen bond donor and acceptor. Here, if you see this, in this case, if it is, guanine and the cytosine, so guanine is going to give up the 2 hydrogen for, making this hydrogen bond to happen. So NOH is going to be major group part, and the minor group side NHO. This is how it is going to be. Look at in the case of AT, NHO and NO, and one NH2 group is going to be missing over here. So there will be no H here on the AT. So they form just the 2 double bond, and here they form the 3 double bond. And keep in the mind, this is about the Watson and Crick pairing, not about the Augustine geometry. Major and minor and major group of the DNA, they contain the sequences, or those bases which has the hydrogen donor and the acceptor, and the sequence dependent duplex structure as per the kind of major group and minor group form that is going to be present, and the hydrophobic interaction, which is basically going to happen via the intercalation, and the ionic interaction will be because of the phosphate bond. If I make it very clear, then the one base is going to stack over the other. This leads to the hydrophobic interaction. So sequence matters. And triple helix, if at all is a possibility, or anti-gene approach, in that case, it will be always the Augustine base pairing, which is the parallel one, and it could be either the reverse Augustine, that is the anti-parallel one. And basically, we separate the DNA by using the agarose gel electrophoresis or polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis as well. So DNA is always negatively charged because of the phosphate group, so it migrates towards the anode, and the time it takes is the minus ln, that is the natural logarithm of the number of the base pair. So this is all about today's lecture. Hopefully you enjoy it. It's a very warm welcome and thanks from the Spice Up Your Biology. Thank you very much.